Todd, take it away, and thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you again, Phil. So, brief recap from what we covered last week to what we're doing. It's kind of stepping stones, right? Last week we talked about DI 101, the basics of a DI policy, how it's set up, the different riders that we can have within a DI policy, and then sales ideas, how to start conversations, how to engage clients, and talk about the reasons why protecting their income can be so important. Today, we're going to actually switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to talk about we're kind of combining two sessions into one, which is going to be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And what we're going to be talking about are kind of our two categories of clientele: the white collar and medical space, and then the blue collar and middle income space. So that's what we're going to be visiting about today. So first, let's talk about the medical and white collar professionals. This is kind of the where everybody wants to play and where a majority of our carriers focus on. So what we find is that the medical space is mostly dealt in resident physicians, not a ton of them. We don't have a lot of people targeting the physicians that are already in practice. And what we find is this space is highly competitive. And this is where most of the carriers want to play. They are, they all have a future increase option available on their policy. Okay. And so what they're doing is to be super competitive, they're throwing discounts at these resident physicians. They are actually over insuring these physicians for a short period of time. And knowing that during the residency, they're not making a lot of income, and they'll insure them for, during residencies, typically they make between 60 and 70,000. It can vary a little bit here and there, but that's not a ton of income for somebody who's actually a practicing physician, obviously. And so what the carriers are doing is they're insuring them upwards of $100,000 of income, sometimes more, and knowing that as soon as they get their first contract, they are going to use that future increase option to may have their DI policy maintain pace with their current income. So the insurance carriers are actually kind of sticking their neck out there for a little while, short period of time until they get their first full-time job, and then knowing that they're going to increase their benefits to maintain pace with that income. So again, it's a highly competitive space, and this is where a lot of the carriers want to play at. When it comes to white collar, here's what I would say about white collar is that we as an organization at North Central DI, we want to look at their situation in its entirety. And we want to provide value and ideas that your typical broker may not have thought about. Is this person a business owner? What do they have? What do they have going on? All sorts of different scenarios where we say, hey, oh, because they are commissioned, their group plan doesn't cover that. Because they are a 1099 employee instead of a W-2 employee, here's what we need to think about, and here's how much they're going to be able to obtain. We need to think about pairing this with maybe a business plan to ensure a higher percentage of their income. So we're thinking about all sorts of different things, including, are there multi-life scenarios? Okay. If one person needs it, are there others within their organization that likely need it as well? Could be. If we have three or more, then everybody gets a discount. That's not a bad idea. So instead of having one client, you could have three or more. Fantastic idea. What if it turns into GSI? Now, GSI stands for Guaranteed Standard Issue. All right. If we get to enough lives, somewhere usually between 5 and 10, we can actually eliminate underwriting and we can eliminate financials. I joke, but it's true. I have never run into a broker in my entire career that loves underwriting so much that they want more of it. In fact, we want to try to eliminate underwriting if we can. This is where guaranteed issue can come into play. So if you come to me with an attorney that's making some decent money, as an example, I say, well, how many attorneys are in their firm? Oh, well, there's 10 attorneys that are there. Oh, okay. Well, hey, if Joe or Sarah needs this coverage, what's the likelihood that the other 9 may also need it? Could we, is there a chance we could set up a call or a Zoom with them and visit further about this idea? And now instead of having one client, you now have 10 clients. Maybe you've got 20 clients, whatever it might be, right? What an opportunity. And guaranteed issue, guys, you think that, they tell you that disability insurance is a very persistent product. Guaranteed standard issue is even more than that, because if somebody leaves, somebody retires, that position's being filled again, and that person's going to enroll into that program as soon as they're eligible for it. So these policies don't ever go away. So
Hey,
that's an opportunity many don't think about.
Todd, real quick in the GSI space. So I know Principal used to have it. It was like you have a dentist and four hygienists, and by showing a nice little chart, you can take that to the dentist and say, you need this. Here's how we can save you money and maybe add in BOE or other
Yep.
types of stuff like that. Do any carriers have like flyers like that anymore to talk about multi life and guaranteed issue?
They do have some flyers. I would say, Phil, overall, they're actually not very good. And I hate to say that. With the digital marketing, you would think that it would become easier because they don't have to print this stuff off anymore. But I frankly, from even 5 to 10 years ago, I think the quality of consumer-based materials has actually decreased. I hate to say that. I think it should be the other way around. But most of the marketing things that we have are actually producer-based instead of consumer-based.
Yeah.
Now, here's one caveat that we'll talk about really quick about GSI. When we are looking at guaranteed standard issue programs, these carriers do not want medical professionals. So while your example is a good one, Phil, they are
Wow.
not going to take existing dentists or existing physicians for that. They want to see white collar, non-medical business. So attorneys, CPAs, architects, other executives, those are the people that are really the good fits for guaranteed standard issue. The reason
Interesting.
that they don't offer guaranteed issue for in practice medical professionals is that they're already doing that in the resident space. And there's only so many that they're willing to offer, and they would rather catch them in their late 20s, early 30s than when they've been in practice for a few years and they're in their 40s and 50s and they've got medical issues and things of that sort. So it makes sense. And I think you can cast a broader net when you're at the medical school saying, hey, we've got this program with no underwriting and no financials. It makes it easier to be able to talk to maybe 200 or 300 resident physicians than a practice of existing physicians that you may find some say, well, I don't really want that. Well, in order to get this, unfortunately, you're going to have to take it. So
Yeah.
they stay away from the medical professionals in a long-winded answer there.
So with just out of curiosity between us and the people that are on the call or whoever is watching after, is there an opportunity where say you and I could like create almost like a valor flyer about multi-life and what it could save people with those safe occupancies or something like that? Or
Absolutely.
do we okay, because I'm just trying to think outside of the box of what people can take to their local whatevers and just really kind of identify that. So just a
Hmm.
thought process, and we can obviously talk about that later, but wanted to also just kind of get people's creative juices flowing thinking about multi-life, because holy cow, that's a great opportunity. So
Absolutely, it is. So when we get these opportunities in the white collar space, we want to try to vet out some of this. So when we come back to you as the producer with some additional questions, we're not doing it to be a pain in your rear. We may uncover something that turns into a little bit of a pot of gold. You know, I did a presentation a while back about it's strictly about guaranteed standard issue, and it's literally about multiplying clients, right?
mhm.
You have an idea for one and you take it to the rest of the firm. And again, instead of having one client, you've got 10, 20, maybe more. We've quoted guaranteed standard issue with one of our carriers with over 1,500 lives, right? Unfortunately, it didn't
Whoa.
land, but you never know what you're going to uncover. And so why not vet it out? And then as Phil had, what about the business overhead opportunities for these small business owners? Okay, these are things that aren't being talked about enough, and buy seller key person opportunities. Now, that being said, I don't want to jump the gun and start talking about BOE, buy sell and key person, because ironically, this is what we're going to cover in our next session, our business products. So again, these are things that we want to uncover, and every situation is a little bit different. And you guys saw last week with our training how many moving parts there are within a disability policy. There are numerous disability policies that can provide value for each client with their particular situation. So a lot of moving things, but we will help you with that and walk you through that. Here's that handy dandy chart of all of the carriers that we are currently representing, and we are in the products that they offer. The big three in the white collar space for us are Emeritus, Principal, and Standard, and we'll walk through these in a little more detail here. Some sweet spots with these carriers. Emeritus, they're very good with resident physicians and white collar professionals. They came out with a new product called Cornerstone at the beginning of 2023, and it is highly competitive. And I will tell you, it is an industry leader. Their premiums are very aggressive, and we are happy to see that. Their physician pricing went down. They know that they want to diversify and get more of that white collar space and not just physician market. So they have lowered a lot of their premiums there. And I will say also, 9.5 times out of 10, their female rates will beat anybody. So they're highly competitive in the female market, which is another fantastic space to be in. By the way, as we go, and you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt me and jump in and ask these questions as we go. Second carrier, Principal. We find that they are good with some physicians. They're not good with all of them. They are good with dentists, and they have their spots where they're good with certain white collar professionals. When you bring us an opportunity, we're basically going to quote all three of these carriers for you anyway, and then we'll see where the chips fall. We may be surprised that in one case, this carrier comes out better than that one when we thought maybe it was going to be the other way around. So we're not just going to make blanket statements. We'll do the quoting and the research for you and then help you make that recommendation. Standard are very good with white collar professionals, and they've established a discount for more than a handful of occupations that they really want to target, which would include some of the things that we talked about with guaranteed standard issue. They like lawyers, executives, they like IT professionals, which is obviously there's some good money there. And they're also extremely good with existing physicians. So their pricing model, they're not so much focusing on the resident physicians as they are the existing physicians. So they can come into play in certain situations too. So what are some policy differentiations? All right. Guaranteed renewable versus non-cancelable. We talked about this last week, right? Do we set it up where they have the ability to potentially raise rates, which they don't ever do? Or do we set it up to be non-cancelable where there's never an opportunity to do that? Well, Emeritus and Standard do have a guaranteed renewable option and a non-cancelable option. You can set up the policy to go either way. So there's a little bit of flexibility there. Principal their policy only has a non-cancelable option. So they are going straight for the, hey, we can't change this, we can't adjust it, so on and so forth. Again, that kind of comes with a little bit of additional premium. So when it comes to some of the white collar professionals, that's where they tend to not be sometimes quite as competitive based upon how we set up that policy for you. But let's go back to the medical professionals for a quick second. Principal, they made, just for transparency's sake, I'm not saying anything to be disparaging, I'm just simply telling you guys the truth. They made some major changes in 2023 to their resident physician commission structure. All right. At the agent level, your renewal commissions have been cut, and they've been cut by about 30%. Not ideal, right? Again, if it's the proper carrier, and it makes sense. No problem whatsoever there, okay? But I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Commissions above the agency level have been completely eliminated. So Not a great business model for us and for 3Mark. But at the agent level, again, you'll still get paid. That's not a problem. It's just that your renewal commissions go from there. So the question is, what have we done and where do we go from here? We're basically kind of looking to transition away from other carriers. And but what we found is that Cornerstone is winning a ton of these cases outright. So that business, a lot of that business that was going to Principal, head-to-head competition between Principal and Emeritus, Emeritus is winning the vast majority of those cases. We are looking at adding another white collar carrier. I can tell you that we have completed our contracting with Mass Mutual. However, we've got some problems with them too. They can't do several things. Their e-app is goofy because they force you to have an iPipeline subscription. They can't do a paper application if you use DocuSign, so not ideal there. And then the other factor is they can't pay commissions to everybody directly, which is what we do from a transparency standpoint. We do not hold anybody's commissions, or we don't say, hey, carrier, you pay us, and then we pay everybody else after that. We don't want to touch your agent commissions. We don't want to touch 3Mark commissions or anybody else there in the middle, and they can't do that. So we're working through that process with them. Once we have those things completed, then Mass Mutual will be an option for us there. Any thought? I know that's a lot of information, but any thoughts or questions about any of that?
Has Principal changed their mind about that whole commission thing? Just curious.
Yeah, you would think that the recourse that they got from the field, they would have immediately changed that. I know their sales are suffering because of it. There's no getting around that piece of it. I actually recently had lunch with one of their regional teams, and they told me that hopefully by the first of the year that they will have a different commission structure set up for this. There's a long story behind why they did that. A lot of it is because they are a publicly traded company versus being a mutually held company. So they were looking for stockholder returns. Well, cutting commissions is an easy way to do that. Not ideal. But we don't know what it's going to be or what it's going to look like yet, Phil, but we know that at least we're being told that it's going to change. And the only information I was told is that it'll be better than zero. So that's a start. So yeah,
I mean, they've got a great name, so everyone knows.
We'll see. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Within the up until the last couple of years, they were the name, they were the Kleenex of the DI world. You know what I mean? Like you don't ask for a tissue, you ask for a Kleenex, right? Well, hey, I want some DI. Let's go talk to Principal.
Yep.
And they fit extremely well in a lot of places. And unfortunately, some things at a high level unfolded, and we have been in the we've been in the avalanche of crud that's come down the hill, unfortunately, and there was no getting out of the way. So that's where we stand. Happy to again visit more about with anybody that has additional questions about it. But what we're finding again is that a lot of those policies that were going to Principal are now going to Emeritus just for the fact that their new policy is super aggressive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these new policies that have arrived. We talked about Emeritus launching Cornerstone in January 2023. Their rates are dominant, and I said, especially in that female role, that is 100% true. We found that the resident rates have decreased in most scenarios, which is fantastic. Again, that's where if you want doctors, that's where the carriers want to find them, and frankly, that's where producers want to find them too. Get them while they're young, make them longtime clients, and then it starts from a disability policy, it transitions into life insurance, and then it transitions again into wealth management after that, right? Help them prepare for retirement and build their nest egg. So that's fantastic. We've also found again that their white collar rates have dramatically improved. While we were talking a little bit of smack about Principal, they did launch their new product in March of 2023, and they separated their medical and non-medical occupations, which we did anticipate. That doesn't so much affect you guys, but they kind of have two separate commission structure rates. So we've combined them. It doesn't affect 3Mark at all. We found that their rates have gotten a little bit more competitive in some of that medical space and those white collar occupations. Again, be a fiduciary, but remember about their commission problems. So that's kind of where we stand there. A question that came in here on the chat was the regarding the female rates across the board. I would say that the Emeritus's female rates have gotten a lot better. We can take clients with Emeritus. They're actually the highest, go to the highest age as well. They will issue through age 64. Everybody else issues through age 60. So I hope I answered your question there. Any thoughts or questions about the white collar or medical space before we move on? Because this is going to be kind of chapter 2, if you will, for today. And we're going to kind of transition into the middle income and blue collar space. Anything that you've got questions on or would like to chat or talk about? Okay, well then let's move forward with middle income and blue collar DI. People always ask, how would you define middle income and blue collar? To us, we would typically say middle income is between $40,000 and $125,000 of income. Think about some of these occupations that this could include: nurses, dental hygienists, engineers, CPAs. You don't have to necessarily, have a physical job in order to be considered middle income. Now, some of this again is also based upon where does the client live? $125,000 here in Omaha, Nebraska is a lot different than $125,000 in Los Angeles or in Miami or on the upper East Coast, right? So it's going to kind of vary based upon that. When we talk about blue collar, we're simply talking about occupations that have more manual or physical job duties, right? These are going to be contractors, HVAC technicians, first responders. A lot of people forget about those opportunities that lie there. There are opportunities for people in police or state troopers or things like that actually do carry a weapon. That doesn't excite the Emerituses and principles and standards of the world, but the carriers that we have currently, they don't mind that. They will actually make an offer out there, no problem whatsoever. When it comes to the carriers that we are representing in this space, right now we've got 3 of them: Assurity, Illinois Mutual, and Mutual of Omaha. Now, as you can see, the check marks based upon what these carriers offer are not nearly as extensive as those that are in that white collar space that we talked about a little while ago. They don't have all of the business products available to them. They've got your disability insurance, and they basically have a business overhead expense policy. So they want to focus on those personal income protection and then helping out those to help with a business overhead policy to provide additional income protection for those that are small business owners or self-employed. We'll get a little further into that as we go. So again, some carriers and sweet spots here. Illinois Mutual, I would say that these guys are going to be kind of our leader when it comes to the opportunities provided within the middle income and blue collar space. They do a very good job. They are really good with a 30-day waiting period. That's really where they're very aggressively priced at. We would say normally, as we kind of talked about last week, most carriers revolve around a 90-day elimination period. Now, when we think about middle income and blue collar types of clients, I could tell you that a 30-day elimination period and a 2-year benefit period is exactly what these clients likely need. These clients are going to be living quite a bit more, paycheck to paycheck, right? And if they become disabled, first of all, are they going to be able to make it to day 90? That just starts their waiting period. They're actually not going to get their first check until day 120 because you need to accrue those, and they pay you for the time accrued. With a 30-day wait, they could probably get through that period and then get paid on day 60. So pay faster, but don't pay for quite as long. So we keep those premiums down and reasonable. All right. So something to think about there. And again, if you recall from our last session, the average length of a disability claim is roughly 2.5 years. So a 2-year benefit period is still going to cover the vast majority of things that are out there. I would rather see a client get paid for 2 years than not get paid at all because they say, well, if I can't have an age 65 benefit period, I don't want anything. That's not I'd rather see you get paid for a short period of time and either one, get healthy and be able to return back to work, or maybe be able to transition into something else that you can go do. Okay, so there's a good opportunity there with Illinois Mutual. But Surety is really based more around the 90-day wait, and their benefit periods are typically 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and age 65. A lot of times what we're finding with the Surety is we're doing a 90-day wait and that 10-year benefit period and maybe even age 65 based upon the cost of the policy. And then we have Mutual of Omaha. Unfortunately, there's not good news with Mutual of Omaha. Now, we don't really place a lot of cases with them. We found their underwriting to be tough. Their process is a little bit wonky and not user friendly. But we just literally got notice a week and a half ago from Mutual of Omaha that they are going to be exiting the DI market entirely in January of 2025. So again, it doesn't really affect who we are at NCDI. It doesn't really affect what you guys are doing with 3Mark. The unfortunate part is that it's not really a good look for the industry. There's only, so many carriers that are left that are offering disability insurance, and having one of them exit the business just hurts the industry as a whole. So that's kind of where we stand right now with those. So we would be focusing on Illinois Mutual and a Surety for you and your clients moving forward.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
Quick question for you. First off, I guess two questions. One, did Moose say why they were getting out of the DI space? Because I know they exited the retirement space for 401ks. And
Yep.
The other question would be is do the blue collars offer the multi-life as well?
So first is yes, blue collar carriers, all carriers have a multi-life discount, which is fantastic. And it's always 3 or more lives. Now that does require underwriting, but they would get a discount. The first question that you asked there, Phil, did Mutual Omaha say why they're getting out? The only explanation that was given to us in their press release was a decline in sales, and that number has been declining for a very, very long time.
Okay.
The reality is that Mutual of Omaha spends much more time with other products, and DI just didn't get the time and the love and the shelf space that it deserves and it needs. And because of that, you're going to find declining sales. And
Yep.
they just came to the point where they said, "Hey, we're just gonna cut ties."
All right. Well,
Now,
is what
it
it
doesn't mean
is.
that they can't get back into it. I mean, they could do a reach at any point in time. I mean, they're just going to shelf the product. It's already filed and done. So if they want to put the time, money, and effort back into it, they could launch it. And again, you want to talk about name recognition. There aren't too many other places that have name recognition like Mutual of Omaha does. So
Exactly.
it would be good at some point in time if they want to get back in the business for sure. Good
Okay.
questions.
Thank you.
So let's talk about some of these differentiations. Again, non-cancelable versus guaranteed renewable. I will tell you that we are going to set up these policies in the middle income and blue collar space to be guaranteed renewable only. Illinois Mutual and Assurity both have non-cancelable options, but frankly, it's a waste of the client's money. Okay. These carriers don't go and raise rates. We're not worried about that whatsoever. And for the money that they are using for the non-cancelable option, again, they would be spending 15 to 20% more typically to make it a non-cancelable policy. We could put an additional rider on that policy or riders on that policy that would actually benefit the client in the event that some of those things were to ever occur to a client. So we can use that money in better spots, or even if we don't add additional riders to the policy, you as the producer can help them spend that extra money in a better spot. Maybe it's by purchasing a little bit of additional life insurance with that type of money, that sort of thing. So there are many different things that are out there, but I will tell you, we will only set these policies up on a guaranteed renewable basis. Let's talk about the riders, because there are some differentiation in the riders between what we're finding with the white collar carriers and what we're finding with the blue and middle income collar carriers. Okay. What we talked about last week was more regarding around the white collar carriers, the CAT rider or catastrophic rider. Okay. To reiterate, right, this is the catastrophic benefit is additional income in the event that they lose 2 of their 6 activities of daily living. All right. So what the white collar carriers will do is they will pay additional money to the client, knowing that they need it. What a surety has done is they have said, well, we're not going to give you additional benefit, but because we know we don't sell a lot of age 65 benefit periods, we sell a lot of 2-year, 5-year, 10-year benefit periods. We're going to pay that claim out all the way to age 65 instead of paying additional benefit. So in the event that, if you lose 2 of your 6 activities of daily living, you're never going back to work again. I can almost promise you that. You would have that benefit for an extended period of time to help you out, knowing that you're going to need that income, knowing that you're never going to be going back to work again. So I like their approach to that, especially with the shorter benefit periods that they're typically offering. One thing that I'm a huge fan of in this space, and I wish that the other carriers would do something similar, but they don't. Illinois Mutual and Assurity both offer what they call a retroactive injury benefit rider. What this says, if you add this to the policy, if the client becomes disabled due to an injury, once they hit their elimination period, the client gets paid back to day one. Okay, so it really turns it into a 0-day injury elimination period rider. Now, from an industry perspective, all right, and I think maybe we talked about this, we tend to think that injuries are occurring a vast majority of the time when it comes to claims. The reality is that injuries occur 1 out of every 10 claims. 9 out of 10 claims are illness related. Okay, who would have thought? All right. So because of that, this rider typically comes with very inexpensive premium. You're adding a lot of value, perceived value, into a policy for just a few extra dollars per month. But in the event that something does happen to them from an injury standpoint, it's tremendous value not having to wait for their entire elimination period and have that be out of their own pocket. Now, here's the other thing, and we can position it this way too, is that especially in the blue collar space, the likelihood that you could be disabled because of an injury is actually higher than in the white collar space. So for those that are climbing ladders or have more manual job duties, this rider can come into play much more frequently than it would maybe for you or for me. So something to think about and adding in there. Another thing that they do, and the white collar carriers do not do this, is they actually offer return of premium. The client can legitimately get back 100% of their premiums paid minus any claims that have been paid to them when they turn age 65. So think about that, right? This can act like a forced savings account. All right. Now, I will tell you that this comes at a cost. And when it comes to return of premium, right now, Illinois Mutual's return of premium is a lot less expensive than Assurity's. Assurity's return of premium can almost double their premium. But again, they're going to get it all back. And think about this. This can help with 2 things. All right. It's the client that says, well, the disability is never going to happen to me. How do we know? We don't, right? So let's put this policy in place, and we're going to hedge the bet on yourself, if you will, by adding return of premium. All right. You're going to get back 100% of the premiums that you've paid in, minus any claims that have been paid out. So if you paid in $50,000 of premium and the company's paid you $20,000 worth of claims, you still get a check for $30,000. By the way, that money comes back to you on a tax-free basis. So scenario number 2 is at age 65, we are now at basically retirement age. Could you help your clients with that additional money that they're going to get in a lump sum check? Absolutely. Okay. You can create, some sort of investment for them, whether maybe it's a SPIA, maybe they want to leave a legacy for their grandkids or whatever it might be, right? Maybe they want to take some of that money and go on a vacation and invest the rest of it. You can be there and you're earning, potentially money on money that you've already actually earned commissions on already in the first place. So I think it creates opportunities for you guys as a producer as well. One of my mentors in this business, I like how he explains return of premium. He said, it's money when you need it and it's cash back when you don't. Okay. Money in the event that you have to make a claim. And if you are lucky enough to not have to make a claim, you're going to get all of your money back. So I kind of like that. It's money when you need it, cash back when you don't. I wish a lot of other insurance, I sure wish my homeowners and my car insurance would do a return of premium. You know what I mean? I bet you guys do too. So this is unique to the blue collar world. By the way, if you've got a white collar client, okay, we can writer these policies out to be, you know, you got a high income earner, or you got a doctor. We can writer these policies out to be much like a surety or much like, excuse me, like emeritus or principal or standard, and add return of premium to it if this is something that entices them. So don't just think of it as a blue collar or middle income option. We can use this for anybody, and we can add the riders to it. Now it's going to get expensive, but again, they're going to get all their money back. So what does it matter?
What's the average cost to do the ROP for these? I know you said 50% or a double.
Yeah, it'll almost double a premium. Think about adding somewhere between, typically 40 to 100% of the premium without it,
Mhm.
to get that put on there. And for younger clients, it's a lot less expensive. For older clients, it becomes quite a bit more expensive because the carriers don't have the time to invest that money and make their money off of it, right?
Right.
When you've got a younger client, you've got plenty of time before they hit retirement age to invest that money and make money off of it.
Okay.
But
Good to know.
again, we're happy to provide these quotes back to you guys with options of return of premium and without return of premium, and then let you and your client make the choice. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Right? So,
Don't the quotes usually have like you could just manually subtract it and figure it out based on what's given from you guys, for
yeah.
most
So
people?
if we quote it with return of premium, there is a line item on each of the carrier illustrations that says, "Hey, return of premium is this per month or this annually," and you could simply subtract that out. Absolutely, you could. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just making sure.
We talked about a case with return of premium, and um, it would have never the scenario would have never gotten brought up by the agent themselves. I happened to be on the phone call with the agent and the client. She did not want to lead the disability conversation, and so again I started asking questions, and he came back with a few more questions, and one of his questions was, well, what happens if I never use it? Do I just lose all of the premium that I've paid in? And I said, well, from what we've been talking about currently, yes, you do. However, there is a return of premium option available to you. Here's how it works, right? We walk through the scenarios that we just talked about. And that's exactly what he decided to go with. We just turned a policy that was going to be he was a self-employed plumber, by the way, okay, and making really good money doing it. It was going to be a $4,000 annual premium, and it turned into almost an $8,000 annual premium because we added return of premium to it. By the way, you get paid that first year, or you get paid commissions on it just like it's a normal DI policy. There's no reduced commissions for return of premium. You're getting the full 50% of whatever the premium happens to be. So I literally just doubled the agent's commissions on it by asking a couple of questions and then having him bring up well, what happens if I don't ever use it? So never a bad win there.
Never.
Other offerings, okay, this is within the middle income and blue collar space. We get asked all the time, is there a short-term disability policy in the marketplace on an individual basis? Usually what we find is short-term disability is offered through your employer. Well, Assurity does have a standalone short-term disability policy. These are set up with short elimination periods, okay? 0 days on an injury, 7 days on a sickness. You can go 7 days on an injury and sickness. You can even go 14 days for sickness and injury from an elimination period standpoint. So it doesn't take long before the claim starts to kick in. Their benefit periods are short as well, okay? So they pay out for 13 or 26 weeks. It is set up to be 100% online quoting and an application. Now, here's what I will tell you, okay? Our first few experiences with these guys have not went well. Didn't go well at all. We have sent them about 6 applications, and we have yet to get one through underwriting. Now, not to say that they can't get through underwriting. We did pre-screening, we did field underwriting on these people, and they use an automated underwriting system. So it's either accept or reject for them. It is not, this is a reject. Let's kick it to an underwriter and let an underwriter view it to see if maybe there's a gray area and we could potentially offer a policy. It's either yes or no. And we don't know this until we send it through their automated underwriting system. And like I said, the first handful of these things, unfortunately, we have not been able to get through. So what we're doing and what we have done in the past is, again, we can use that Illinois Mutual policy because they are aggressively priced at a 30-day elimination period. And we can pair that with a 6-month or a 1-year benefit and kind of use that in lieu of a true short-term disability policy. It works, and we tend to be able to get things through underwriting with Illinois Mutual a little bit better than this automated underwriting system that they're using for the short-term surety. So I just, again, I want to be upfront. I want to be transparent and frank with you that this has been our experience. If you want to try it, you are welcome to. And we will keep our fingers crossed that we can get that thing pushed through underwriting for you. These carriers also, again, as I had mentioned earlier from that chart, the only other product that they're offering from a disability standpoint is business overhead expense. These would be for 2A occupation classes and above. So 1A occupation classes would be, things that they wouldn't offer. There's really no reason, like 1A occupations that come to mind. Those are mostly your first responders. Well, they're not self-employed, so that doesn't really come into play. But a big one from a 1A occupation class, which is the most hazardous, are actually chiropractors. We do run into a lot of self-employed chiropractors. You cannot get a business overhead policy through them. We can help you there. It's just not going to go through a surety or Illinois Mutual. That being said, that kind of wraps up today's session. Again, my contact information, Tawny Johnson Crawford. If you have not visited with her, she's a fantastic resource as well here at North Central DI for case management, underwriting, and all of your illustrations. Thoughts, questions, anything you guys have for me?
I had a quick question, Todd. So process. The agents on the call here have a case. What would they need to get you to run some quotes for them? Like,
Yep.
what's some good stuff to have ready to roll? Because you
Have ready to
mentioned
roll it.
you
Yep.
mentioned some ideas here. So how
So
can we
let
get
me
moving?
let me do this. What I'm going to do, Phil, is we have a quote request form, and I'll get a copy of that to you, and then you can distribute it to your team. And basically, for the ladies and gentlemen that are on this call, if you guys fill out that form, that's pretty much everything that we need. The big things that we're looking for that are on this form are going to be, a name or identifier for them, date of birth, so we know their age. Now, so in this specifically, here's why we want date of birth is in this blue collar and middle income space. Illinois Mutual uses current age. Surety actually uses age nearest. So we can get two different ages. So we want date of birth, not just age. We want to know their occupation, but more specifically, we want to know their job duties. Okay. You tell me that they're a self-employed plumber. Okay, fantastic. Are they in? But I've got a couple additional questions because it's gonna determine which carrier we use and how much they potentially could get and the riders that may be available to them. Are they in the field? Okay. Are they turning wrenches? Are they climbing ladders? Are they, digging trenches? All those sort of things that are associated with that. Or are they to the point where they're executive job duties only? They're just doing, a desk job duty like you and I do. That makes a tremendous difference on which carrier we use. So not just what their occupation is, what are their job duties? And then the big thing is income. Okay. Income comes back to, again, if they're W-2, what's the gross? If they're 1099 or self-employed, what's their net income? And then the other big thing is health history. Okay. That's where cases can be made or broke during the underwriting process. We want to know medications they're currently taking. We want to know things that they have been diagnosed with, what surgeries they've had in the last 5 years. The more detail you can give us regarding their health history, even if you may think it's insignificant, the better off we are. That way we can address that up front versus having those surprises pop up during the underwriting process. Those are the big things that we're looking at. And then also too, one of the questions on there, do they have any group coverage through their employer? Right? Doesn't always come into play, but if it does, we want to know those details because we need to take that into account as well. So there's a numerous things that are on there. It doesn't take long to fill out, maybe 5 minutes at the most to get that thing fully filled out. If you look in the Juliana already put it out there because I have it in my signature line in my emails. Juliana put out the proposal request there in a PDF and the link for it as well. So it's right
On
there.
the link form, you can fill it out. Yeah, it's just easier. Like whichever, if you want to
Yep,
save the website, like bookmark it, you can just access that and fill it out, print it out, email it.
that is perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Look at that teamwork. You guys, it's like you planned this. So
I know. Yeah, she's on the ball. She's on the ball for sure.
That's my
So,
one contribution for the day.
well, we appreciate that. So those are the things that we're looking for from a quoting perspective. Once you guys get that information back to us, that's where Tani and I will grab it. We'll take a look at all that information, process it, and then quote the appropriate carriers for you. And then we can come back to you with the details as to here's what we came up with, here's why. And if this were my client, this is the carrier that I would go with. And then we're happy to visit with you. If you've got additional questions about that. And again, we're always happy to get on a conference call or a Zoom or whatever, Zoom type of video conferencing that you guys use. If you want us to get on that with you, with the client, we are happy to do that as well.
looks like one of the Phils in here unmuted. Did other Phil, who's not me, have a question that they wanted to ask out loud? No. All right. Well, if you want to, feel free to chime in. If anyone has other questions, feel free to chime in. While we wait for that, as we wrap today, it was once again, as always, thank you, Todd, for the presentation. A lot of people just don't realize that there's so many different ways we can serve our community. So, the action step I would say for everybody here is that if you have anybody that kind of came to mind from this, feel free to set up a time with me, Todd, Tawny, and let's find a way to put pen to paper. These meetings are great, very informative, but at the end of the day, if because we're in the midst of football season, as we sit here today, think of it like we're in the huddle. We're getting the play from the side and now we have to execute. Who are we going to target for this? Otherwise, what's the point in coming to a training, right? So we want to start writing names down, thinking of people that this can make sense for, and then execute. That's the most important part. Because when you do stuff like this, you hear the information, and then you go out in the field and you don't talk to anybody, the answer is no already. But if you talk to them, now you have no or yes. And if no, you're at the same point as if you didn't talk to them. But if they say yes, now you're moving forward with an opportunity. And that's what really matters. So all of this is great information. I think the big thing that you'll need to just understand is if you can think of people in these professions, whether white collar or blue collar, the next step is just understand that you have people behind you that can help you. You don't need to be the expert yet. That's why we're here to help out, is to get you to where you need to be. Once again, if you want to see the recording of this, we'll have it posted on the YouTube channel. It's at Valor Financial. And next week we'll have off because it's Thanksgiving. The week after, we'll be back for round 3 with Mr. Shield. And then round 4, we're going to a 4-rounder. with Todd Shield and the DI opportunities. So a lot of cool things that we'll talk about in the future with this. And then the 19th of December, we're going to wrap with the last presentation of the year. It's just going to be, what we did here this year and what's to come. So, as always, Todd, thank you so much for joining today. Everyone else, as well as you, Todd, have a good weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you back next week or 2 weeks. All right.
2 weeks. Thanks again, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yep. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.